Hiya. I was at the Royal College of Music for 3 years when I was in London. The first half of that, I was very into, there was a really good kind of hip, cool scene in London, and I was part of that. Took a lot of drugs. My brother lived in London as well, and he was below a drug dealer. I went out with a drug dealer for a while. It wasn't kind of shady in those days. It was part of the cool scene, and we were dropping a lot of acid. And so it really felt the place to be, and I absolutely loved London at that time. But I got into a real mess, and I took too many drugs, and I had a really bad trip. And at that point, I turned to the Christians in college who, up to that moment, had been making my life a misery by trying to love on me when I didn't want to be loved. But that care for me had penetrated, and so when I began to fall apart, then I asked if they would help me, and to cut a long story short, I became a Christian. And it was, in some ways, it was an amazing time for me because I felt really different, and I knew that I'd been introduced to a spiritual world. So I kind of walked around for a long time, kind of looking at it all. And I'd had the theory of it when I was a child because my dad was a pastor. But all I'd come out of that with is a whole load of rules, and it's boring and it's repressive, and I feel suppressed. But actually, once I realised it wasn't actually about a whole lot of rules, it was about a relationship with someone who loved me, then that felt really different. So at that point, it was the end of what was called the Jesus movement, which one or two of you might remember. There was a man called Arthur Blessed, and he wanted to walk around the UK carrying a big cross. And it was a kind of a big event when he arrived. He was an American, and so we had some events. And in our church, the person was asked to get some music together. So I ended up joining a band. So that really became one of the first things I did as a Christian, is I began to do Christian music. And then one day I was struggling with agoraphobia, because that's the legacy of drugs for me, is I became really, really phobic. And I'd come back and had a nightmare journey back from college to where I lived, and I sat at the piano, and it's like something started happening. To say a song arrived sounds really weird, but that's kind of what it felt like. These voices is coming, and this melody, and it kind of came almost from beginning to end. It started off with a Bible verse, and then it just, as if that was being expanded on. And the most interesting thing was, it wasn't about God. It was as if God was speaking to me. It was like in the the first person. I knew nothing at that point about songwriting. It was in a key that I couldn't really get my head round as a singer. It never occurred to me for about 3 years that I could transpose it and sing it myself. So it sat there as a curiosity. Then I had some friends. They were a duo called Dave and Dana. And I played that song to them. They really liked it, so they decided that they'd sing it, and they ended up recording it. And then it happened again. And so these songs would come like events. And then I began to then sit down, and actually, if I'd been through something, or something really meant something to me, then I would start writing a song. But they always were things that kind of happened. And to this day, the only time I've ever written songs that I've actually worked on from beginning to end that have been someone else's idea was when I've had some songs commissioned for TV. I had about 4 or 5 of those. And those, they told me what they wanted, they gave me the subject, I sat at the piano and I wrote them songs. But apart from that, they tended to be things that just were being almost streamed, if you like, either from my heart to God or from God's heart to mine. But they impacted me. They really helped me. They were things like God saying, I know you're really struggling. You know, I know that you're feeling really phobic. I know there's a huge amount of fear. I love you, I'm here. I love you, I'm here. That was the kind of the message in many different ways, was this being that I was getting to know was trying to reassure me and help me. And so there'd be a cry from my heart about, oh, this, that, and the other. And then God would say, yeah, I can help you here. Or, so it was a dialogue. My music, my songs are a dialogue between me and God. So eventually, my friend said to me, why don't you sing the songs yourself, Lou? They sound better coming from you. And that's not a statement about Dave and Dana's musicianship. It's just that they came from my heart. They were real. And so I began to have little solo spots in the band that I was in. And then eventually I became a solo singer. What used to happen is I found that the same thing happened when the songs arrived. They nearly always blessed my heart and really ministered to me. It's a Christian word, but it means really doing something good to your heart. So I found when I began to share them, the same sort of thing used to happen to other people. So my healing journey is like then it began to invite people into a healing journey themselves. And so if you are listening to my music, it is really it's about struggle, it's about restoration, it's about pain. It literally is almost like therapy, if you like. And so I've put it out there because I've had loads and loads and loads of feedback through my life, is that God has used it to turn up in people's lives, particularly when they're going through it. And that's Healing Stream, which is what's accessible here, which is the main kind of, if you like, my classic that we've made available here, is particularly helpful for people that are struggling. So if you are struggling and you want to know if there's anything can be done about it, and if there's anybody that cares or anybody that can be there for you, the answer to those is yes, yes, yes. That there is, and you'll see from the lyrics the different things. And I have to say, some of the songs now were written for clients. I became a therapist and I work with people, and so some of those songs are kind of God's heart to them. So I do invite you to use the music. You can donate if you want to. It's nice if you donate, because that all goes back into Bottled Up, and then people get helped still. But it's really about just if it helps you, then please use it. And certainly it helped me. And then my feedback has been that it helps other people. And I really hope it helps you. Bye-bye.